Welcome to the Halo Effect, hospitality stories with Ashleigh and Michael Donald. Hospitality isn't just our profession, it's our passion. With decades of experience and countless stories to share, we've navigated the highs and lows of this dynamic industry, not just as professionals, but as a husband and wife team tackling the challenges of business and life together. This podcast is your invitation to step behind the curtain of the hospitality world. We'll share real experiences, lessons learned, and the moments that have shaped our journey, offering inspiration and insights for anyone walking a similar path. Whether you're just starting out or have years under your belt, we're here to remind you that every challenge is an opportunity and every story has the power to inspire. Hello and welcome to the Halo Effect Hospitality Stories with Ashleigh and Michael Donald. Today we're going to be talking about some of the new ways that people are traveling. We're going to be taking a bit of inspiration from a few trends articles that have been released already. But first of all, I'd like to have a little chat about decision detox. Ashleigh, we've had loads of decisions made when we've been traveling over the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does it sound to you, not having to make any decisions?
Oh, sounds amazing. I think we have got so many things that we're juggling in life and planning and certainly holidays and travel bring such joy, but obviously they also bring quite a lot of organisation and planning. So I think there's a real movement towards these decision detox holidays, and as you say, that this time of year I love when the trends reports come out and just gives you real food for thought about what the global marketplace are kind of thinking and talking about. But I think, when we look back at the reasons for travel and reasons for people to enjoy hospitality, it's mostly an opportunity to unwind and relax. Yeah. And actually there's such pressure to create and curate the perfect holiday that has almost become a bit of a chore.
Well, this is something that Lemongrass Travel was talking about. It's one of their main ones, and it's I'm feeling the cognitive overload.
Exactly.
But I wonder if it's something that really has sort of come from, we have all these amazing tools to do things ourselves now, whereas I know our parents' generation definitely would have been very happy to hand that all over to an all-inclusive someone who's going to take care of everything, because it would have been really hard for you to book every individual thing. But now you're booking direct to get the best deals, most flexible deals. You're booking your car as well, whereas you wouldn't have booked a car back in the day. But you're having to plan all these things, and
there's a lot, and
overwhelming.
And there are amazing integrations now, and we dabbled with ChatGPT, for example, to create an itinerary to make the most out of our time of travel, and of course sense check it with other personal recommendations, and of course now you can integrate Expedia, Booking.com into your searches and kind of book directly into their platform. So there's certainly kind of an acceleration of getting you kind of right the way through that booking funnel and confirming. However, I still think there's that pressure. Our free time is so precious and our disposable income is so precious that I think the pressure on just making sure that you've, or in your mind, created the right decision, the right location, the right itinerary. There's experience. There's a lot, and of course then overlaid with particularly for the sort of content creator generation, that that the content needs to kind of stack up as well. So there's sort of lots of different variables depending on your motivation for travel. But I think the decision detox I think can work on so many levels, and of course you mentioned the all-inclusive break, and I think that has evolved massively since probably the connotations of when it first launched with like overflowing buffets and it just all being a bit kind of same no matter where you travelled. And I think there's been a huge shift in operators really wanting to kind of look at more of a holistic approach. So it's that you check in and as a hotel group, as a destination, we will curate all of these amazing experiences that are very much bespoke to your the outcomes that you would like to look for, whether that's regeneration, whether it's relaxation, whether it's adventure, and they can build that perfect itinerary. So I think that's been a real shift. And then of course you've got luxury operators, so like the virtuosos of the world, that can really work very closely to create such a personalized and bespoke itinerary, and just take that decision making away, and provide inspiration. And I think for me, I find myself reading so much, listening to so many podcasts, being so inspired. But then when it comes down to actually booking my own travel or our own travel for our family, I do feel really overwhelmed and second guess my decisions. And I think, how can we as hoteliers, as supporters of marketing destinations, make that easier? So it's really interesting to see that a lot of operators are kind of responding to this.
There's lots of people that are really putting that effort into gathering the right information, the right data, and then using it in a really trustworthy and opaque, transparent way. Yeah. Making sure that you're communicating with people and instilling that trust. And once someone you really trust is making a recommendation, you often go with it, don't you? It's very simple at its basic level, but obviously there's so much information out there in the world, and it's so hard to pull that all together into something
absolutely
that really makes sense to your clientele.
And we referred to Lemongrass PR, and they do a wonderful trends report, and we must credit them for that. And there's a wonderful example there from Reclaim Yourself Retreats, so the owner and founder, which is pulled out as a case study in this trends piece. Talks about, I suppose, kind of that emotional connection and entrusting someone to create your entire experience. And it nods specifically to women, actually, of, the idea of showing up and just knowing that every element has been so thoughtfully prepared, whether that's through the nourishing food that you eat, the accommodation that just provides you with, everything that you need and anticipates all of those kind of needs and desires, and just allows you to switch off. And I think that it's a really appealing proposition. So so I think as you say, depending on your own comfort level with using different tools to plan, certainly there's the AI route, there's the operator and luxury travel operator and travel agent route. There's also of course, relying on these kind of all-inclusive experiences, and there's so many kind of overlays that hotels can kind of tap into these tools that are AI generated but embedded very cleverly, that help you once you've maybe decided on visiting that destination, that can just help to plan your experience around what your interests are, whether it's museums, theatres, dining, and it can just share prompts, I think, to even just narrow it down, because it can be overwhelming. And if you think about perhaps visiting on a short break to a European city for a long weekend, you want to ensure that you're seeing the kind of perhaps iconic sites, but also that you're finding these hidden gems and kind of quite live like a local type experiences. So in our busy lives, sometimes it's quite hard to plan for all of that as well. So great to see some wonderful examples with this.
Another point was flexibility. So eDreams also did a trends report, and they mentioned that 28% of 18 to 34-year-olds in France and the UK would book longer, pricier trips if flexibility is built in. So flexibility is now a core value, apparently. We've definitely seen a shift.
I think that's for me, COVID was probably that kind of stake in the ground where when travel resumed, flexibility was kind of a non-negotiable. Absolutely. I think we've seen it come back in, because certainly, and at the time we're recording this, we're not too far away from Black Friday, so people are certainly trying to find ways that they can offer some sort of discounts and not damaging the business. So they are requesting these sort of non-refundable bookings again. So they're definitely back. That is definitely a way of trying to offer a little bit more value. But flexibility, certainly I think for families, for people who want to book well in advance, like even if that involves whether it's you're allowed one free change, or yes, it's non-refundable, but you can change. Sometimes you get non-refundable, non-changeable. That's really off-putting to people who are trying to
get value, and maybe they're really interested in booking, but
yeah, I guess, yeah, that's completely right in terms of, your travel persona at that time. So if you're traveling with your family, if you're traveling on business, if you're traveling, with your group of friends, there's different tolerance levels, I think, for flexibility. I know when I regularly travel up and down to London, I do tend to book that kind of set train. I know that I'm getting the best deal. And then that helps me then just map my whole day and kind of entertainment around that.
Yeah.
I do love with some of the train operators, they offer the semi-flex option. So it's not as pricier option as the flexible, and it's, I think, in like a 90-minute either way. So that's a really nice one. Like if your meeting's finished a bit earlier, or your meeting's overrunning, and then there's a problem on the tube, which I've had before, and you're legging it in a taxi to try and make your train. So I think that kind of semi-flex options are really nice, kind of hybrid.
Absolutely.
Option.
I think a good example in the UK, our regular train down from Newcastle down to London is the LNER, but there's also a Lumo train as well. And if you book via Lumo, you will get some sort of flexibility for a fee, but you can also book the same train via LNER, not direct, and for the exact same train, same price, you don't have the same flexibility. So I think a lot of hotels are also using that to get people to book directly. We'll often find when we're doing the research, yes, I admit, I'm sorry, I do look at booking.com as a way of exploring a region that I'm not familiar with.
It's a great comparison tool as well.
As a comparison, obviously Google's great as well. Booking.com is great. I will always look at the homepage. I will always try and book direct. So any hoteliers out there that are judging me, I will always book direct if it's the best deal. And sometimes that isn't necessarily the cheapest. It might be the same price or slightly more expensive, but if it offers that flexibility for us that we might need to encourage me to book now rather than wait until my flights are booked or close to the time, then it will be a serious consideration. And if that flexibility is there, whether that's direct or if that same flexibility is being offered by an OTA and not directly, that's going to be a big red flag, I'm afraid. So it's to make sure that you're offering the most flexible deals directly, I think would be the
is a good lesson. And I think there's other ways, as you say, to add value to your membership and booking direct benefits. So there's obviously the flexibility, there's complimentary upgrades, early check-ins, late checkouts, potentially a financial benefit as well, a percentage off. Often you see a sort of 10-15% price mark, which equates roughly to commissions and things you might pay to work with operators. So I think it's balancing that, and I agree. I think from a research perspective, Expedia's, Booking.coms of the world are fantastic because they've got that broad reach, and for hoteliers they get that billboard effect of showcasing their brand within that destination, and that's part of the discovery stage when people are booking. And then if you can kind of entice them to then book on your own website, and you make it really easy. And I think that's one of the things that the OTAs are just so progressive with, is this speed and ease of booking. They're already integrating AI tools and have done for so long, and often there's just that little kind of lag and catch up with hotel websites to sort of compete and catch up. But I think between ChatGPT, search engines, and
now with
everything,
Expedia built in,
and Google, hotels and things, that there's so many different options. But it's really interesting, and I think that kind of membership kind of offer that hotels can curate, not just hotels, all sorts of travel companies, just to help build that loyalty and kind of drive that sense of value.
Yeah. And another point about, I guess it's kind of about having great experiences, and as many great experiences as you can possibly have. Short, spontaneous escapes.
Oh, I'd love a spontaneous escape.
Sorry. 3 to 4 day trips.
Nice.
With a standout length of stay globally in the last year.
A lot
US
shorter
travellers
than you would
particularly
think.
showing a really strong tilt towards long weekends, and as we know that will influence the rest of the world as well, whether it be a city break or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, it is
one.
interesting because I think, in the US, we know that they don't necessarily have as much annual leave as the rest of the world. So I'm sure that plays an impact. I do wonder as well around hybrid working and, work from anywhere, where you do the whole bleisure or mullet travel as one trend we looked at once, where you business at the front, party at the back. So you're combining those trips, and that kind of contributes to your long weekend. But yeah, it's interesting to see, I suppose, and I guess a lot of that travel is potentially centered around city breaks or that shorter haul destinations. But I mean, yeah, you can really experience a lot in those days, and it gives you that sort of short, sharp burst of inspiration, and then you can always go back. And we've been to destinations slightly by accident because I've booked a non-refundable and refused to lose our money, and we've gone on a trip because I didn't want to cancel.
We extended that trip. It became longer. That was a 10-hour drive.
I know.
And if anyone's reading from or listening to this from Europe or America, a 10-hour drive is considered a very, very, very long drive in the UK. I know it's a short one sometimes in Europe and in America. But
that short trip then was the sort of catalyst for a longer trip the following year with friends to that destination, and we were able to then have a sort of taster of it, and then we went back and really explored the destination. So I think it's you can definitely sort of experience more and then go back to experience it further, or try a new destination. So I suppose it all feeds into that kind of flexibility and kind of making the most of your trip. And then in sort of similar to that is this kind of late booking mindset, and really interesting. So nearly 2/3 of US travellers booked within 30 days of departure this year. So that was from a Yahoo Finance article. So I think this was really from, I guess, hoteliers and travel perspective, is just really looking at your kind of late window, trying to really kind of drive people. You're still targeting people in that short window, so of course it makes it a little bit harder to forecast and plan, and you're picking up that last minute business.
And obviously these are averages amongst the US or global or whatever it might be, and every hotel might be different, and you can check the figures of what your hotel has done, and you can check all of your analytics and things like that. Might be a little bit different, I suppose, but it is great to understand what people are doing globally, because you are competing for their if your length of stay is much longer than that, maybe you're losing out on all these people that are booking with 30 days notice. Maybe your property isn't appealing to people on 30 days notice, and maybe that's because of the flexibility or price, obviously, but there could be so many other elements to that. Or maybe your 3 to 4 length of stay isn't healing, or something's not appealing. But understanding what your guests are doing, or what your potential guests are doing, is so crucial in every element, I suppose.
And I think so similar to each of our Netflix accounts will present a totally different carousel of things to watch and to fill our time with. I think we need to evolve past the sort of hotel offers page, which is teeming full of offers that you just can't quite, decipher what the best option is for you, that we can just be a little bit more targeted with, really targeting people at that right moment when the intent to book is. So, I think that there is a lot of work to do around and there's some great sort of widgets that you can overlay onto websites that identify how many times you visited the website. It will kind of nudge you in different directions to book certain things depending on your IP address, and that can feed into those trends. So we're definitely kind of seeing much more of a personalised approach. But I think, yes, content, all offers don't fit all, and I think we need to be mindful of that when we're looking at merchandising our offers on our hotel and travel websites as well. So then moving on and sticking with the theme of travel, but looking more specifically at rail. And there's a lovely line, rail is rebellion, not compromise. And just really to sort of recognise the increase in rail as a really, inspiring form of travel that not only allows you to experience a lot more of the journey, not just the destination, and of course is a much greener way to travel. So I think in a lot of the other trends reports that we've looked at over the years and discussed, we see slow travel as a key trend, and that continues to grow. And there's a really interesting stat here from Byway, which is the rail provider. They're B Corp certified. They've got 18,000 customers since 2020, and they account for 2,000 tonnes of CO2 that have been saved. And they've got a massive retention rate, so 90% of their travellers would book them again or recommend. And this is a company that's been sort of on my radar as part of the work that we do with our lovely clients at Montcalm Collection. And one of their brands, Inhabit Hotels, was the first B Corp hotel in the UK. And they are, as part of the Byway train itinerary, Inhabit Hotels feature at the start and the end of the London leg. So it's just, an amazing kind of B Corp collaboration right there, as two like-minded brands come together to offer guests a really sustainable and enriching experience. But I think that, and appreciate that it's not necessarily the 2 or 3 day short breaks as much. You would need to kind of invest that time, but the reward of just seeing what you see along the journey and the stops that it takes as well. You're potentially seeing other areas within the country that you perhaps wouldn't have seen if you just flown in and out.
Well, I compare it to when I first moved to London, trying to get to know the city. I got Time Out magazine, and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go north, I'm going to go west, I'm going to go east, I'll just try everything. And I would just jump on the tube, and I would disappear underground, and then I would reappear over, on the surface, and then start looking at, try and work out what direction I was pointing in. This is early days of smartphones. They were not so smart. And then get lost. Normally I'd walk, almost always I'll walk the wrong direction with confidence, but walk the wrong direction because I wasn't getting a real sense for where I was at all. Whereas when you've lived in London for a while, you quickly get to realize actually buses are great.
Yeah, definitely.
You get to see the city, you see what's going on, and you get a much better feel for, that place looks interesting. That shop looks good, or that bar looks great, or whatever it might be. I'll go and give that a look. But when you're on the tube and you're just standing in a busy tube, stuck up against people and everyone looking down at their feet, staying quiet, you're not really getting much else than the podcast that you're listening to. But if you're on a bus and actually looking out, you can see a lot.
Yeah. I think for me it was always...
And for the same way travel is on a train,
it's the same,
rather than in a plane where you're above the clouds, you don't see anything.
Yeah, you're getting that whole journey along the way. And I think, London for me is walking and just realising how close certain things are as well. So because of the way that the tube map is laid out, sometimes you don't really realise just how close a lot of the areas are. And I used to have a lovely route. I remember walking, from Charing Cross through Trafalgar Square, up through the Burlington Arcade, Bond Street, and then off to work in Marylebone. And actually, to look at that on the tube map, I could be sort of jumping on and off, and yet I've missed these amazingly kind of iconic streets. So exactly. I think the train kind of allows for that, and obviously the whole environmental and sustainability impact is a massive kind of benefit as well. And then of course you've got the kind of ultra luxury sleeper trains, so Belmond for example, and they're continuing to develop sort of new routes. And in fact I think very recently they've just announced a route between Venice, Rome and Paris as well, a new luxury sleeper train, and just next level hospitality. On the wish list.
Well, another one is Rovos Rail based in South Africa.
Oh right,
and Tiffany Voss Thane, who I think is the CEO now. She worked with us in the Starwood sales team, multiplex, and is now running that business, and a family business that her dad started or grandfather started, and it looks absolutely amazing. It takes you on safari for 2-3 weeks and just traveling around South Africa and it just looks amazing.
Sign me up.
Another one to look out for.
Oh, that's great. And then, I think we've ourselves experienced a lot of amazing events this year, concerts and theatre shows.
It's one of the best years for concerts I've had.
Same.
I
think
time.
Oasis was definitely a highlight, and I think it has been really well documented and well recorded. But I think it's just certainly worth mentioning again is those event-led spikes of those kind of mega events and the impact it has on GDP. And I think back to Taylor Swift as an example with the Eras tour. It's just for every city that she played in, just the massive boost to the economy, and not just the hotels side. It was just everything, everywhere that she went. And then Beyonce's most recently her Cowboy Carter tour, which I know Marriott did a big partnership, and a lot of their hotels kind of had various activations. $400 million in revenue globally just from that tour, that's kind of feeding back into those economies in her tour. So it is quite mind-blowing. And I know we've talked about managing those kind of fluxes of demand and the old surge pricing and things like that we did a whole sort of episode on that. But looking ahead, we've got a few sort of big events. There's the Winter Olympics in Milan, which the eDreams report has kind of pulled out some interesting stats as well, and flight searches up 24% during that period, and huge demand for just looking at that as a destination. And then of course we've got the Men's Football World Cup next year in North America. So I'm hopeful that Ireland will make it through. It's not looking, at the time of recording, it's not looking promising. England have already qualified, which, I'm obviously delighted about. But Ireland are up against it. I also see the Eurovision Song Contest heading to Austria, and that. So just as a comparison, that's already. I think for all of May, it's an increase of searches of 166% on the previous year. So it does have a massive impact if your country wins the Eurovision Song Contest, and it's been a while since either Britain or Ireland has won that. It does have an impact on your visibility. So be ready to make sure that your properties can really raise their heads above the parapet there and be seen when that traffic increases. I think just finding ways that you can differentiate yourself. Yeah, it really puts it on the map. And I know when we look at major destinations globally, which again, there's some really interesting stats out there. Bangkok is featuring there. I think it is the top one. I think is it top one for UK travellers, and then I think 8th globally. But again, it'd be interesting to see things like the White Lotus effect, and how that visibility of that city through kind of modern media has kind of shaped that. And I think there's definitely some sort of regulars on the list. Barcelona, Paris, interesting to see Mallorca, Palma on there, and of course London. But I think there's of course the sort of major cities and those major events that are happening, kind of overlaid with films and destination, that whole set jetting phenomenon, which it's true, we do see it, and it provides such inspiration for travel. Just as a side note, Joanna Fisher, who's a regular on here and we work with her really closely, she did a slow horses tour around London recently, which looked amazing, and obviously it's not necessarily the salubrious parts of London, but it was all real brutalist architecture and a lot of the kind of really like dark scenes of, you know, where they meet and like the graveyard and stuff like that. But you can do a full sort of self-guided tour within London. So, you know, again, I just love that provides inspiration for
I hope that the tour
day
guide
trip.
really invoked Gary Oldham's character and used a lot of terrible language and looked filthy. Like,
Had a bottle of whiskey in his pocket.
I would just want to go on that tour and just be abused.
Just be insulted.
Yeah, just be insulted for 2 hours straight, being told I'm a complete moron and idiot. That would be something I would definitely go for. Thank you for listening to The Halo Effect, Hospitality Stories with Ashleigh and Michael Donald. We hope today's episode has offered some insights and encouragement to anyone navigating the world of hospitality or entrepreneurship. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question, want to suggest a topic, or interested in just joining us as a guest, you'll find our contact details in the show notes. Don't forget to follow, like, or subscribe to The Halo Effect on your favourite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Until next time, thank you, and we can't wait to welcome you back for more stories and inspiration.